Envision a web in which you no longer need dozens of accounts and API keys and subscriptions and billing portals. And instead, you have a single signing capability that gives you full access to all payable resources of the open web. Let's break down x402. It's really just three schemas that describe how any service or actor can pay one another. The three schemas are as follows. 1. A payment required. This can be thought of as the invoice format with which a web service asks the requesting client for payment. 2. A payment payload. This can be thought of as the signed check that a client hands back to the service in exchange for the requested resource. And 3. The facilitator. This can be thought of as an ATM into which the merchant or whoever holds the signed check can deposit that check. A facilitator is any service that implements these endpoints, the most important of which is settle. Settle takes the payment payload and settles it on-chain. And thanks to this separation between merchant and facilitator, the merchant doesn't need to concern itself with the operational burden of hosting blockchain nodes or of maintaining accounts and API keys related to accessing a blockchain node proxy. We can just take the payment payload and chuck it at the facilitator, which, depending on the target chain, can settle in less than a second. So in this architecture, the client and merchant can both pay or get paid through payment required and the payment payload, which they can just fling to one another. They can do it through HTTP requests or over WebSocket or over Bluetooth or over any other transport. In this example, within the crosshatch repo, we actually request 60 consecutive 1-cent payments, one with each iteration in this simple for loop. So we stream from the client to the merchant. Upcoming use cases for x402 will likely involve lots of real-time multiplayer micropayments. And I think we're about to see all kinds of new payment experiences, and therefore new application categories even, that just weren't able to exist before. Imagine a music streaming service where I'm streaming music from an artist, and over the course of listening to their song, fractions of cents flow from my wallet into theirs. Imagine a multiplayer video game where I'm shooting at a player, and if I hit them, 1 cent is going to flow from their wallet into mine. With the language of x402, we can very easily map stablecoins and their movement into 3D virtual environments. And all of this can be expressed in a consistent and minimal form thanks to our atomic building blocks. So to reiterate, our x402 building blocks are 1. The payment required, our invoice. 2. The payment payload, our check. And 3. The facilitator, our ATM. These building blocks alter the fundamental economic architecture of the web. We can now pay per request, per token, per byte to protect ourselves in a world of untrusted AI-integrated actors. Currently, if you host a public resource, you're effectively giving out infinite microloans. And even if your service were safe from malicious actors, you can't predict the amount of compute or the amount of resources that your end user may consume. And you want to avoid sticker shock from larger than expected bills at the end of the month. So as a developer, you need the ability to experiment and tinker, potentially combining large amounts of AI compute while offloading those costs to end users, who, after all, may be doing very costly things, like generating fully immersive virtual worlds in high fidelity. The x402 Foundation, led by Coinbase and Cloudflare, has actually partnered up with the Linux Foundation, which is a pretty strong signal that it's going to be healthy for a long time. We're seeing the emergence of lots of different kinds of facilitators with different trust and performance profiles and network support. And we're seeing a huge supply of merchants offering all kinds of services via a countless x402. These are mostly developer web services like language model routers and data markets, but also some consumer services. You can, for instance, order a t-shirt or a burrito with x402. Now, I don't think many people are doing this, but you can. We're gradually seeing adoption from popular web services that are now enabling their services to be used via accountless X402. Two such examples are browser-based and exit search. And if we fast forward just a year or two, I believe billing through X402 may be a critical strategic advantage, as this form of payments is granular and it's two-way. So if the merchant ever needs to send payment back to a client, there's an immediate path. We may also see more consumer goods and services increasingly purchased via X402. The consumer doesn't need to be technical or to know that X402 or stablecoins underlie their purchase. The use of X402 may be preferable for all kinds of purchasing because of its open rails and therefore the open source engineering talent that follows it and improves it over time, leading to greater security, performance, and fee compression. Also, X402 will ultimately offer a much simpler developer and agent experience as it dissolves API keys into signing authority, thereby eliminating the need for a registration step, as well as eliminating account silos, as you don't need to have an account, because you don't need to have an associated credit card, because every interaction contains a micropayment, so the merchant knows that you're good for the money. As far as the current state of the developer tooling, there is a ton of room for improvement. We need to better unify all assets across all networks. We need to abstract over the hard parts of using cryptocurrency, both for developers and consumers. And this means we likely need new kinds of X402 native services for things like on-ramping and swapping. Some of this potentially integrated directly at the facilitator level. As part of this broad effort, I built Crosshatch. Crosshatch is an Effect native toolkit for building X402 merchants and clients. Crosshatch uses Effect's dependency injection to enable the injection of different kinds of signing capabilities so that you can bring your own support for your own payment scheme. Crosshatch is in public beta. Please join the Discord so that we can discuss and learn from each other about the initial use cases for micropayments. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. Please comment and let me know your thoughts on X402. Also, the link to the Crosshatch Discord is in the description. Please join and we can continue the discussion there.